Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to look at Monolith, a game for 1 to 4 players for ages 8 and up, with the average playtime being about 30 minutes. Now this game reminds me a little of Roll For It in Alien Frontiers. In a sense, it's a dice worker placement game. Players will be rolling dice throughout the game and assigning those values to various cards in order to do various actions. So, with that said, let's take a brief moment to look at the components and see how the game is played. Okay, as far as the components are concerned, we'll start with this pile of gems in the upper left-hand corner. This serves as your currency. Players will be trying to earn and spend these throughout the game. What are they going to be spending these on? Well, partially on this victory point track up here. It folds out. Players will start on the start space and will be trying to move their victory point marker up this track, and they'll be trying to get to this victory space. Now, these numbers here indicate tool spaces. As players pass these spaces, they'll have to spend gems in order to pass them. So, again, players will be trying to earn some gems in order to pass these spaces so they can get further up the track. There are 2 victory point markers of each color. One is used for the track, and the other one is used sparingly and in special circumstances depending on what cards come up. You've also got this Primus token here. Basically, this serves as your first player marker. That'll change hands throughout the game. You've got dice. Players will be rolling and spending these dice and attaching or socketing them to these Rune and Fate cards. Each Rune and Fate card has a socket on it, or multiple sockets. That's what this number is. Let's see if I can zoom so you can see it. And an effect down here. During this game, for example, if the player were to place a 2 here, during the resolution phase, which I'll explain later, they'll be able to return 2 gems to gain 4 victory points. So these gems are not only to help move players up the victory point track, but some cards will allow you to spend gems for other things. So there's that. You've also got these skill and power cards. Skill and power cards are sort of like special action cards that give players the ability to adjust their dice in some way or to take an action that they normally wouldn't be able to take in order to give them some type of benefit. These player power cards do the same as power cards, but these are optional. Players will be getting one at the beginning of the game and will give them some type of unique ability. But again, players don't have to use these if they don't want to. I skipped over these. These are solo play runes. Again, the game is for 1 to 4 players. And in the solo game, you'll just be trying to get as far up the track as you can, just sort of to beat your personal score. But that's what these solo play runes are for. You wouldn't use these in a 2 to 4 player game. Finally, you have these round cards, and they are representative of the 5 different rounds in the game. Now here's a quick look at the game setup. I'm not going to go through all 8 or 9 steps to do this just because it would take a while, but so this is what it will look like after it's all set up. You've got your victory point track along the top, 1 victory point marker per person on the start space, the remaining ones over here. Again, these come up situationally depending on what cards come up. You've got 3 dice per player, with the extra ones being put near the victory point track. You'll count out 5 gems per player and put them in a bank like this. You'll have the Rune, Power, Round, and Skill cards. Usually they would go right above here, but for the sake of the video I have them off to the side so that the shot would fit everything. You've got your 2 players here, blue and red. Again, each player gets 3 dice to start with. And they'll roll dice at the beginning to see who would earn the Primus token. The player with the higher value, the combined total of these dice, would get the Primus token. And again, these player powers are optional. You'll just simply shuffle the deck up and each player will get 1. But for the sake of the video, I'm just going to remove these from play just to keep things simple. Now, as far as the grid is concerned, this looks a little intimidating, but it's actually pretty easy to set up. Each of these Rune and Fate cards has a number in the bottom right-hand corner, giving them some type of numeric value. For example, this one is numbered as 1 in the lower right-hand corner here. This is the space that it's supposed to go in, the first space. It's like a book. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So this one has a 2 in the lower right-hand corner, as you can see that. All Fate cards have a 3 in the bottom right-hand corner. However, they are numbered 3.1, 3.0, 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, so on and so forth. You'll shuffle this deck up, and then you'll put 1 here. Actually, that's 3.6. What happened to 3.0? Let's use that one. Okay. Next up, we have the 4 and the 5 and the 6. Now, after you number your cards 1 through 6 like this, the final 6, the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th slots, you'll shuffle up the rune deck, and then you'll deal 6 random cards in its place, just to form a 4x3 grid for a total of 12 cards. Now, the manual does suggest that you use the 7, the 8, the 9, the 10, 11, and 12, as shown in the bottom right-hand corner of the cards. But if you're familiar with the game already and you want to mix things up, instead of using the 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, you can shuffle the rune deck up and put 6 random cards here, just so that you experience different cards and different effects with each game you play. Now, once you have your grid of 12 cards, again, 11 cards will be rune, and the third card over will be a random fate card. Once you have this set up, the person with the Primus token will roll 2 dice, and that'll determine where the round 1 card will go somewhere on the grid. Again, you'll take that value and count that many spaces. There are 12 cards, and it just so happens that at most you could roll a 12 on your 2 dice here. So I rolled, I rolled a 3. Let's just say I rolled a 6, just for the sake of argument. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I would go ahead and place this round 1 card over top this particular slide, effectively taking it out of this particular round. On a future round, this will go away, and the next round card will cover something else, or possibly even the same one, depending on what is rolled. So you'll never know what cards will be available and what cards will be hidden during the course of the game. Now, the game itself is played over 5 rounds, as you saw with these round cards here. And in each round, there are 4 phases. There's the chance phase, the action phase, the resolution phase, and the advancement phase. I'm not going to go over all of them in detail. I'll briefly, though, tell you what they're all about and what generally happens during these phases, just to give you an idea of what the game plays like. During the chance phase, each player will just go ahead and roll their dice, and this will determine those values for the remainder of the round. During the second phase, or the action phase, players can then assign those dice to the various cards, and that starts with the player with the Primus token. And they'll be signing these one at a time. And they'll have to observe these sockets here on these cards. Some say any, meaning that you can put any value on that socket, while others actually specify a number. So you have to pay attention to where you're putting these dice. So let's just, let's just put one here, and then one here, then blue would take a turn, and then red would take a turn. Let's do that, and blue would take a turn. Again, I'm just spitballing here. Do that, and then finally red would take one final. Where would we put that? Those are ones. Let's do that. Okay, and that would resolve the action phase. Now, while that was going on, players could have played power or skill cards to sort of modify their dice or to do special things. Once a player has run out of dice, they can no longer play these power or skill cards during that round. During the resolution phase, or the third phase, you'll start resolving these dice in order, just like a book, from top to bottom or from left to right. Starting with the first card, the first one here was a 4 Primus token. The highest total gains the Primus token. So red ends up taking the Primus token, and that plays an important part during the next round. Next up, we have this blue die here, valued 5, 2 skills. So he could grab 2 skill cards. Red here gains a victory point and a skill. So 1 skill and 1 victory point. He is red. There we go. Next up, we've got the red die here. Skills. Socket any die to get 3 skills. 5 and 6 equals 3 skills. So 3 skill cards for red. And that gets resolved, and these dice go back to their owners. Next up, we have this die here. Immediate. Gain 2 gems. I actually should have played this during the action phase, and that's my apologies. Anything that has an immediate effect on it would immediately be resolved at that time. So at the time that this was socketed during the action phase, this blue player would have received 2 gems, and starting to your left, each player gains 1 gem. So this player would get 1, and then finally this blue die down here. The highest total gains 3 gems. Now it's important to note that once these gems run out during a round and someone's prompted to get a gem, they won't get it. So the ordering of these cards and how players put dice onto these cards ultimately determine what a player will end up getting. So there's a little bit of a strategic element to this. You want to make sure that you're not putting your dice all the way down here if you can help it, and then miss out on everything else that may have been collected up here as these are resolved in order. Now, just as a quick side note, if someone is sharing a card like this, let's say that blue had a die here and red had a die here, it would start from top to bottom. This one would be resolved first, followed by this one. The same thing with a card that's going left to right, skills for example. The 5 would be resolved first, followed by the 2. Now during the 4th phase, or the advancement phase, the player with the Primus token will go ahead and roll 2 dice, and that will determine where the next round card will go. The previous round card will be discarded. The next one will go ahead and be placed wherever the value happens to be. In this case, it's a 9. After that, each player gets to take an extra die from, this is called the source up here. If they run out of dice, they don't get to collect anymore. Also, any action cards that were played, action cards being power or skill cards, any cards that were played get returned to their respective players' hands. So as players start using more and more skills throughout the game, you'll start to keep track of what they're using and possibly use that against them, or at least to try and figure out what their plan is as they continue from round to round. After that, each player will go ahead and roll their dice, effectively locking them in preparation for the next round. Now this will continue over the course of 5 rounds, and if any player happens to get to the victory space during that time, they automatically win. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. However, at the end of 5 rounds, if no one has reached victory, what will happen then is each player will get to claim up to 6 gems that they may have, and they'll get 1 victory point per gem, up to, again, a maximum of 6. They'll move their victory point marker up the track, wherever they happen to be, and the player that is highest along that track will win the game. And there you have it. It's worth noting that I did not cover everything found in the manual. For example, I didn't cover how to play the solo game. I didn't even touch on the fact that these round cards have a reverse side. The player with the Primus token can actually decide which side they want to use. The basic side is just the side with the number on it. The other side actually has some type of special effect that'll be observed should that card be used. So again, a lot of stuff I didn't cover, but hopefully this gives you the general idea so you can figure out whether or not it's a game that you'd like to play. You can check out my review at www.dadsgamingaddiction.com, where you can click on the links in the below description. That'll take you there as well. This is Vince, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.